About a year ago, if you were to go to a gun show, what you would see if you really kind of focused on the tables when it comes to guns, a lot of nonsense tables at gun shows, but let's just focus on the guns. If you went to a gun show and you focused on the tables that were selling guns, what you'd see is you'd see two types of tables. One, gun dealers. These are people with FFLs. These are people who went from one part of the country or one part of the state, brought all their guns from their store, set up a booth at a gun show, and now they're selling all their guns or whatever inventory they decided to bring. And if you went and bought one of those guns from one of those individuals, you would have to pass a background check, a NICS background check, to purchase one of those firearms. The second type is collectors. These are people who have a big collection of guns, and by law, you have the right to sell your personal guns. So they're exercising that right by bringing their personal collection to the gun show. However, you do not have to pass a NICS background check. You could just walk up to the booth, pick out the gun you want, and pay them cash. Now, what I saw when that was the case was you had a lot of guns that were collector guns. You had a lot of guns that the gun stores don't necessarily have, if that makes sense. Some of the collectors just had a ton of World War II weapons, or a ton of German weapons, or a ton of Civil War era muskets. Like, it was a lot of that sort of thing. So it was kind of a sad day when they did away with that. They made it now rule. You cannot sell guns at a gun show unless you are an FFL. And this is a new rule that was passed at the beginning of 2024. In June of 2024, a federal judge said you can't do that, but then it ultimately got overturned by the Federal Appeals Court, and by August, it was officially a rule. And now if you go to gun shows, you will see one type of person, one type of gun booth: dealers. Now, the question lies, this is a new rule established by the White House. What happens now after the election? Like, now what? Now what? Because what you're going to deal with is, before Inauguration Day, you're going to have two types of gun shows, I believe. You're going to have gun shows that are continuing to follow the rules, and you have gun shows that are like, I'm throwing that out the window. Essentially breaking the new rules / laws. But what about after Inauguration Day? Like, what happens at that point? And that's really kind of what we want to talk about in this video. So the rule is the rule right now. Now, one might argue your rule is breaking the Constitution, so that rule does not apply. But what I'm saying is, right now, even if, because I'm in agreement with that rule is breaking the law. Like, the only law breaking taking place is telling me I can't sell my personal collection of guns, or I couldn't buy a collection of guns. But what would probably happen if you were pushing the boundaries and the ATF got wind of it is you'd probably get arrested between now and January 20th. After that, it would still be the rule until the rule is changed. Now, with that being said, obviously this is going to be a state-by-state issue too, because many states, this is always, you go to a gun show in California, you're not going to see collectors. 5 years ago, I believe, I did not go to gun shows in California 5 years ago, but if you know, put it below. But I believe that's always been the rule in certain states. But now it's a federal thing. Like in Missouri, you go to all sorts of collectors. So after Inauguration Day, I don't know. I think it's really up to the new administration. In the end, the new Justice Department is ultimately going to have to make that decision because it is essentially a White House policy. If they abolish that policy, then we're back in business. If they don't abolish that policy, then we're business as usual lately, if that makes sense, when it comes to gun shows. Now, with all that being said, I really don't trust the administration, regardless of who's sitting there. And I would be willing to bet this is probably going to stay a rule at first. If, because especially when you got a president who doesn't need anybody's opinion of him because of, for re-election purposes, he can kind of do whatever he wants when it comes to that. So I would argue it's not coming back. I hope I'm wrong. I would very much value your opinion. What's your thoughts? Because I think it's really just a guessing game at this point. Like, what's the new administration going to do when it comes to non-FFL people selling their guns at gun shows? Like, what is that? So we'll see if it is, here's what I do know. If the administration wants to get rid of it, they'll just get rid of it. If administration doesn't want to get rid of it, they're not going to get rid of it like that. I think it really comes down to that. Because right now it's being upheld by the federal courts. It's being upheld by the Justice Department. It's being upheld by the White House. The only thing changing is going to be the White House. See how that changes this gun show situation. But in my prediction, what you're going to see is you're going to see some rogue gun shows in the Second Amendment safe states doing whatever they want. And it's probably going to run that way. And then states that are anti-Second Amendment, they're obviously not going to allow it until the White House makes a decision on that. And my guess is it's not one of their first decisions to make. So in the end, even if it's going to change back to the way it was, I do not believe it's going to be a speedy endeavor, so to say. Unless he walks in and says, just abolish all Biden White House policies. We'll see. If that's the case, then yes. If it's not the case, then I think it'll be a while. So any thoughts or insight on that, definitely put it below. Do want to take a moment and say most people watch the channel, hey, they're not subscribers. Click that subscribe button. Greatly increases the algorithm and our ability to get these messages out. That link is also below. But the most important part of this channel is we take prayer requests. So please don't ever, ever hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, love guns.